3 seconds. That's likely how long it took you to read this video's title and decide to click. And it's also exactly the silent gap between the moment an anxious thought arises and the instant it begins to take root, to build its catastrophic narrative within your mind. You know this feeling. It's that pit in your stomach that appears out of nowhere while you're trying to focus on work. It's that background noise of "what if?" that whispers while you reply to emails. It's the mind that, instead of being your tool for productivity and creation, turns into a stage where horror plays are performed repeatedly, without your consent. You came here because you're tired of trying to think positive or drowning out this noise with even more work. And what I'm going to share with you today is not another breathing technique or a meditation app. It's a neurological loophole. A scientific, almost surgical way to intercept this stream of thoughts before it takes control. And if you're ready to transform your relationship with your own mind, consider, right now, subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Not for an algorithm, but because what we'll explore here is the start of a deeper conversation, a space where productivity and inner peace finally stop being enemies. Imagine your mind not as a blank screen, but as a river. Most approaches to anxiety try to change the color of the water, or put up barriers against the current, or teach you to desperately swim against the flow. What neuroscience shows us is much wiser. We need to learn to change the riverbed. Every anxious thought you have is like a drop of water that, by falling repeatedly in the same place, begins to dig a channel. The more it runs down that path, the deeper and more automatic it becomes. This is what we call rumination, and the turning point, the moment of greatest power, happens in the first 3 seconds after the initial drop touches the ground. It's the window where your brain's plasticity is most receptive, where a whisper is more powerful than a shout will be later on. Here lies the first crucial reflection. You are not your anxious thoughts. You are the space where they happen. Anxiety is a smoke signal, not necessarily the fire itself. It's an ancestral, hypersensitized alarm system that mistakes a work deadline for the threat of a predator. And when you try to fight the alarm, screaming at it to be quiet, you're only confirming to your brain that the danger is real. The real change begins not in battle, but in recognition. It's an act of gentle observation. So, Brit, when that pit in your stomach appears, or the mental spiral starts to spin, I want you to do something seemingly simple, but neurologically revolutionary. Instead of drowning in the story the thought is telling, take a step back within yourself and name what's happening. Whisper internally with an almost scientific curiosity, "Ah, this is anxiety." Notice the language. It's not, "I am anxious," which fuses you with the emotion. It's, "This is anxiety," which creates distance, which turns the experience into an object you can observe. This is the first second. The act of naming, by itself, lights up the prefrontal cortex, the region of reason and discernment, and begins to calm the amygdala, the alarm center. And here is where almost no one realizes the second movement, the step that prevents relapse. After naming, your instinct will be to analyze, question, rationalize. Don't do that. Not yet. In the next second, I want you to deliberately seek a sensory anchor in the physical present. Gently press your thumb against your index finger and feel the texture of the skin, the temperature, the pressure, or feel your feet firmly on the ground, the weight of your body in the chair. This is not a distraction exercise, it's a reconnection. Anxiety lives in the imagined future, the senses live in the real now. By anchoring yourself, you're sending a clear message to your nervous system. I am safe in this moment, in this body. You are pulling your consciousness out of the mind's movie theater and back into the physical room. Now, with the third and final second, we arrive at redirection, With the mind slightly more spacious and the body anchored, you will ask a tiny but transformative question. Instead of, "What am I going to do about all this?" ask, "What is the next simplest physical action?" Not "finish the report," but "open the document." Not "solve my life," but "write the first sentence." Not "calm down completely," but "take a sip of water." This redirection isn't about achieving great feats, it's about breaking the paralysis of everything and replacing it with the possibility of one small step. This is how you recalibrate the circuit. Name, "This is a state." Anchor, "I am in my body." Redirect, "Now this small movement." Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes the neurological path more familiar, more accessible, until these 3 seconds become an elegant reflex, a mental shortcut you take instinctively. The climax of this understanding isn't in perfect execution, but in the gentleness with which you return to it whenever you get lost. Because you will get lost. The old mind will reclaim its trail, and true anti-anxiety productivity emerges when you abandon the expectation of linearity. Every time you execute this sequence, you are not just silencing a thought. You are, literally and physically, weakening the neural connection of anxiety and strengthening the connection of conscious presence. You are carving a new bed for the river of your mind. The peace you seek is not the absence of turbulent thoughts, but the ability to be in the midst of them without drowning. It's the productivity born not from panic, but from clarity. So, the next time the fog begins to form, remember, you have a 3-second window, a sacred space between the trigger and the spiral. Use it with gentleness and precision. And if this conversation resonated with you, if it made sense on a level that goes beyond techniques, then the invitation is open. In the video I suggest next, we explore what happens after the silence. How to build an intentional day from this place of calm. Because true productivity, the kind that sustains and doesn't exhaust, can only be built from a mind that has learned to find its own refuge. I'll be waiting for you there.